Hello? Is that lighting better for everyone? Can y'all see the screen better? Good morning, everyone. Oh, that's kind of loud this morning. So welcome to our prevention of stroke presentation by Dr. Fry. She's here from VITAS, and we always welcome VITAS, our partners here that help us do all kinds of things here at the ARC. So, Dr. Fry.
All right, thank you. I'm probably loud, so I'm going to put it up there. Is that okay? Okay. I'm also a fidgeter, so that way I don't mess with it too much. So thank you for letting me come. This is probably one of my favorite places in San Antonio, not just for VITAS talks, but just in general, because I'm so glad it exists. I'm so thankful for your service, and I know that our country is what it is because of the men and women who protect us. So it's just an honor to get to come. So, and I didn't know, Lucy and I didn't know, that this is actually Stroke Prevention Awareness Month by the American Heart Association. So we're very timely. We didn't know that. But she asked us to come and talk because it's real and it affects lots of people. And she said, y'all always like more information. So what I would say is we're going to get a bunch of information, but there'll be plenty of time for questions at the end. There's going to be a test at the end. And with me today is our general manager, Zandra, and she even has prizes in her bag. So I know, she's our Vanna, right? So this is a really busy slide with little tiny words, but what it says is VITAS is the first and only hospice designated for cardiac care by the American Heart Association. That's a big deal, right? A lot of people think of hospice for cancer and end-of-life care with that, but cardiac disease is even more common in our country. So this is a big deal. Not while we're here, just another fact, right? So I wanted us to think about stroke and the impact of stroke and the numbers like from 2024. That's our latest final data, but they're huge, right? Almost 800,000 people in the United States have a stroke every year. That's a lot. Almost 15 million is the estimate worldwide, right? Huge amount. So the other thing, right, if a stroke doesn't take a life, it leaves people with some sort of problem that they have to deal with afterwards most of the time. whether it's a physical, you can't move well, right? You can't see well. Maybe you can't think and process the same. Depression. I don't know if anybody thought of that, but that's a major side effect, something that happens after stroke that's really real. And then sometimes just the general reduced quality of life, right? I can't do the things that I used to do, or it's not up here, but maybe your kids get bossier too, right? After you have a stroke. So, and it's a major cause of mortality, meaning people die. Like it has been in the top 5 in the United States for as long as I've been practicing medicine, since the late 90s, right? It's a big deal. That being said, has anybody in here had a stroke, know somebody with a stroke, or have any experience? What? Your mother did? Yeah, lots of strokes. Did you see kind of these things that each one took a little bit more from her? It's hard, right? I'm sorry, there's feedback. How about anybody else have any? Yes, sir? Your mother died of a stroke. Okay, so his mother died and he lost the vision in his right eye. It makes it hard, right? Anybody else have any? Yes, ma'am?
I had a lacunar infarct
Okay.
and mobility.
And did it affect your balance? Balance and mobility. A lacunar infarct, that's the part of the brain where didn't get enough blood for her. That's what it meant, right? How about anybody else? Anything? Has anybody ever been with anybody while they had a stroke? Oh, yes, ma'am.
I had an ischemic stroke.
You did. Okay. Balance for you. So she had an ischemic stroke, which we'll talk about what that is, but balance. Has anybody been with anybody when they had a stroke? Yes, sir?
But my wife had a stroke in the middle of the night. She was 92 years old, but perfectly healthy.
Wow.
And we lived her 7 years. She had it sometime during the night. And when I woke up the next morning, I didn't know. She was breathing normal. Heart was better. And she didn't get up to come out for coffee. Went back in there, and I couldn't wake her up, so I called the front desk. And within 5 minutes, the ambulance was there. The doctor said that she died of a massive brain stroke to the brain, and it did not feel a single thing, didn't even wake up or anything.
I'm sorry for you. I'm thankful that she didn't feel anything in that, right?
They
But
absolutely sure that she did not have any pain or feel a thing.
as a
And she
comfort,
breathed,
right?
she breathed normally, and her heart pumped normally. That was 9 o'clock in the morning by then, and she didn't stop breathing and heart till 9:30 that night.
Wow. Okay, were all y'all able to hear him? No? Okay. So he was just sharing that he lost his wife from stroke and that she was normal when she went to bed, and then he wasn't able to wake her up. She didn't come out for coffee in the morning, but thankfully she didn't have any pain, and she was breathing normally and her heart was beating normally until it stopped after the stroke. So it's hard, right? And it can come on all of the sudden, just like that. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing this talk, because, right, if we can prevent it, it doesn't happen, right? That's the key. So part of me wants to be able to give this talk to people in their 30s, right? I'm in my 50s. You guys may have had a few more birthdays than me, but for all of us, probably when we needed to listen, we didn't, right? But if you know it now and you have people that you love in your life that you can influence younger, that's good too, right? So it affects, right, us, friends, neighbors, family. Yes, sir.
Sorry, can somebody take the whistle out?
That's what I'm trying to stand back. See what you can do,
Let me turn this one off.
because it's terrible.
It is terrible.
How about that? Is that one's better? Okay, we'll do it. Is that better? How about if I do this? No, it's okay. I think it's okay. Okay, so it affects all of us, right? Us, friends, neighbors. So here's the official definition of stroke. Stroke occurs when part of your brain doesn't get enough blood, right? The official is when blood flow to part of the brain is interrupted, causing brain cell injury or death. So we have a whole river system of arteries in our brain. They go from bigger and then get smaller and smaller tributaries. Depending on which of those tributaries have a problem either with getting blocked or with bleeding, that's downstream called a stroke, okay? So ischemic stroke, like you explained that you had, that's most of them. That's 87% of strokes is our current data. And that means that there was a blockage. So think of a clogged pipe, right? There was a clogged pipe and everything downstream from where that blockage happened didn't get blood. So that part of the brain was affected, okay? The other main part, the other type of stroke is called a hemorrhagic, which is exactly the opposite. It's something bled. So you've heard of people having an aneurysm might be an artery that kind of bursts and bleeds, but a hemorrhagic stroke is too much blood going in one area. Think of a dam breaking, right? And everything downstream from that dam gets then flooded. Same kind of thing, right? A TIA. Is there anybody in this room that has ever been told they had a TIA? Yeah? So that's a trans-ischemic attack. That is called a mini stroke. Now the thing about a TIA is its symptoms look like a stroke, but they're completely gone within 3 hours. Okay? The symptoms are completely gone. Yours was that way? That's a warning sign. That's a warning sign of a stroke to come. So you never want to ignore those, right? This big sentence at the bottom right, up to 80% of strokes are preventable. Before I was a hospice physician, I was a family physician. Really big into prevention. If we can prevent it, it's not a problem, right? That's the way to go. So that's where our focus is, right? Risk factors. Some of the risk factors you cannot change. You cannot change your birthday. I have tried. It doesn't work, right? We cannot. We can't change our genetics. We can change our Levi's, but we can't change our genes, right? And so if we have if we have a family history, we've got it, right? If you're male, sorry, you're more likely. We're not going to get into if you can change that or not. You're more likely, right, if you're male. You can't change your race or ethnicity. That's the way you were built and designed. And again, the genetics are there. So the things that we can change is what we're focusing on, right? These are the things we can change. And we're going to talk about each one of these in particular. But high blood pressure, high blood sugar, right, diabetes, high cholesterol or triglycerides, smoking, obesity, physical inactivity, diet, alcohol misuse, or something called atrial fibrillation, which is probably not anything you chose to have, but something that we can help to decrease the risk with, okay? So let's get into kind of those details. Hypertension, high blood pressure is the number one risk of stroke. Anybody in here have high blood pressure? Yeah, 1 or 2, right? 1 or 2. Main thing, know you have high blood pressure, right? Be sure to see your doctor regularly. Have your blood pressure checked and screened, and then follow it up. A lot of people ask me about the cuffs that you use at home, right? Either the arm or the wrist, and are those good? It depends on the quality. It depends on how they're put on. But if your home readings are reading a little bit high, it should trigger you to see your doctor to talk about it, right? To verify it. And what I usually say is take your cuff with you when you go to the doctor. Let them check it manually. You check your cuff. Then you'll know if it's trustworthy, right? But target blood pressure, right? Anything, that top number under 140. So if you're running over 140 consistently, all the more reason get to your doctor, right? Decreasing salt intake, so it really works. So reading labels, eating less salt, talking to them in the dining room, right? Trying to not adding, right? Just taking the salt shaker off the table, good preventive practice, right? Everything else that you can flavor with is fine. Won't raise blood pressure. pepper, salsa, spicy, Tabasco, lemon, right? Lemon and vinegar are the two things that flavor things like salt. That's your hint for today, right? Oh, you have your own seasoning with you. See? She's got Italian seasoning with her. I love it, right? The other thing is exercise. So, and we're going to talk about that. I have some specific suggestions on that. And then medications, if you're prescribed them, take them. Okay? This is coming from a family physician. If you do not like the way your medicine makes you feel, tell your doctor. Tell the specific why, right? Don't just not take it. Don't cut it in half or take it some of the time. If the doctor doesn't know what side effects you're having or what effects you're having, he or she can't do anything about it. But if the doctor knows and you discuss it with them, then we can figure something else out, right? I used to love having a proactive patient that would say, you prescribed me this, I'm not taking it because what comes after the because helped me to know what I needed to do. Is it too strong of a dose? Is it the wrong medicine? Whatever, right? So communicate that. But control, please, 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 make sure your blood pressure is controlled. Okay? Any questions there? Okay. Good. Good question. So her question is, what do you do if you have blood pressure that fluctuates between high and low? You talk to your doctor, right? You talk to your doctor because certain medicines have certain effects, and they affect blood pressure and heart rate, or they affect actually how your arteries and veins dilate. And so sometimes a switch in medicine is important. For all of us, if that happens, right? The one thing all of us can do is to slow down just a little bit when we change position. So you would be one in specific that if you're lying down, you sit up on the side of the bed and kick your legs a few times before you jump up and run to the bathroom or the phone or the door, right? If you're sitting in your recliner, your chair, you kick your legs just a couple of times before you get up. Return that blood to your brain, and it helps you not to get lightheaded, right? But you talk to your doctor if it's happening, right? How about any other blood pressure questions since you've got a family doctor in the room? No? Okay, so the next risk factor, right? Healthy diet. It's what we've been preached about forever. In this case, there's actually data to prove that it reduces the risk of stroke. If you eat more fish and vegetables, less red meat, less fats, those things really work, right? So if you eat food the closest to the way that it's made and grown and not processed, better, right? So the Mediterranean diet is the official kind of fruits, vegetables, whole grain, fish, nuts, and then olive oil, right? Avoiding the saturated fats. You know, Chick-fil-A, we love them, tastes great, we like their priorities and values, but by golly, not good for stroke prevention, right? Mexican food in San Antonio for your birthday, it's your birthday. It's okay, right? But if you go with your family otherwise, shrimp fajitas or chicken instead of a beef enchilada, right? Things like that make a difference. They do, right? So avoiding processed foods, fats, extra salt, remember, you got a divorce from the salt shaker. And even the sugary beverages, right? Texas sweet tea is something, but it's not good for helping prevent stroke because it doesn't help keep weight off. It's just extra calories, right? Do y'all cook for yourselves mostly here? Do you eat in a dining room, or where do you? No, everybody laughs, so I'm guessing no. You cook for yourself? So some do and some don't. So what I would say is, I betcha the cafeteria here, the dining room, makes good choices. It just depends on what you have to know. Then maybe y'all need to have a residence council. Tell Lucy, right? Say, hey, Lucy, advocate for us, because if you're going to bring Dr. Fry here and she's going to say it, then we want to be able to do it, right? So, because she's wonderful, it sounds like she'll help you out there, right? All right, so physical activity. Here's the official numbers. Greater than 150 minutes a week of moderate activity or 75 minutes of vigorous. Who can tell me what moderate or vigorous means, right? We don't know. It's something different for everybody. If your heart rate gets above your resting, that's moderate. So what I usually say is it's faster than a Walmart pace. Okay? So if you're strolling down the aisles, that's not really considered exercise. It's steps, you're walking, but you're not getting your heart rate up, right? So you have to walk as if you're strolling in Walmart and then your husband comes up and finds you and tells you to quit shopping in Walmart and you go faster, right? Something like that. So it's 150 minutes a week. It doesn't have to be at one time, right? If you walk 10 minutes a day, 6 times in a day, if you take 6 little walks of 5 minutes that way and 5 minutes this way in the hallway, you've done an hour worth of exercise that day. And you get the heart and the stroke prevention benefits from that. Okay, so it is just active in general. Most people have a smartphone now or something with an alarm. Make it go off each hour. Remind yourself, get up and move, and at least moving around, that helps, right? The more sitting you do, the higher your stroke risk, right? So walking, cycling, swimming, aerobics. I'm not telling anybody they have to do PT. I have heard from too many of our veterans that say we did that for too long. I don't want to have a structured anything. Okay, I get that. But just be more active in general, right? So let's say if you're going to leave and go out that door and you're over here, walk this way to go out that door. You've already increased activity, or vice versa, right? Take the long way, right? Okay. The other thing is, oh, there's just a picture she put for me. You don't have to lift weights, but be careful if you do. Smoking, right? I have learned to wait until I will offer every time I see a patient if they want to talk about hints to quit smoking. I have learned not to talk to my smokers because it wastes my breath if they don't want to. So I have some really good suggestions. If anybody's a smoker, we can talk about it. Your doctor would talk to you about it. But smoking vastly increases your risk of stroke. Okay? So just to give you guys a picture of why, especially smoking and high blood pressure. If you think about our arteries, they are very just delicate walled tubes, but they're muscular tubes. Our arteries actually pump like the heart pumps. I don't know if you guys know that. But inside the arteries is a smooth wall. If the blood pressure's high, or if the blood sugar's high, or you smoke and there's things to damage, the smooth wall of the blood vessel gets damaged. Then your body tries to fix that damage, okay? So it lays down this whole scaffolding network of stuff called fibrin, and there's some other cellular things, but think of it, it builds a scaffolding network inside the artery. Well, you've got a smooth walled tube of a certain diameter. Now you build scaffolding on the inside. Stuff gets stuck to that. Platelets, they make our blood clot. They get stuck. Cholesterol gets stuck, right? So that's what makes the clot. So if you don't have high blood pressure, or you don't do the other things that cause that damage, you don't block the arteries. Okay? That's why these prevention things work. You might ask, well, why the blood pressure? And my analogy is go to the backyard or wherever you have a hose and pick up a water hose and hold it over the dirt. And it will mess up the dirt a little bit, right, if you just hold it. But if you put your finger over the end of that hose and increase the pressure of the water, you can dig a hole with that water, right? Just the sheer force of that water damages the arteries. Well, even if you put your finger off and on, even if it's intermittent, you still could dig a hole, right? Might be a little bit slower. That's the sheer force of high blood pressure. So y'all, these things make a difference, right? If you don't make the damage, you don't get the arterial problems like stroke, right? So if you're a smoker, please talk to your doctor and decide to quit. What else? Diabetes, right? High blood sugar, it damages the arteries the same way. Obesity makes your heart work harder and those arteries pump more, and then they get tired and they don't pump as well, right? Cholesterol, again, it can just literally get stuck to the plaque that builds up, that scaffolding network. Triglycerides, some people may have high triglycerides. Those are like fat in your blood. Think of like melted butter in your blood. So it just makes your blood thick, so it doesn't flow through those arteries as easily, right? Atrial fibrillation. This one you would not cause or not cause. If you have it, you just drew the Powerball for that, right? You didn't cause it, but it's an electrical conduction of your heart that makes your heart beat irregularly. But the problem is, when the heart doesn't beat regularly, a clot can form inside the heart. And then that clot can be released out of the heart and get pumped, or a piece of that clot, straight to your brain. That would cause a blockage once it got to the smallest vessel it could fit down, right? And that's called what kind of stroke if it blocks that vessel? Who remembers? Ischemic. A lot of people. There was one over here, Zandra. I forgot Vanna has prizes, right? So, black shirt and navy shirt, right? You said ischemic? Yes. If you have palpitations, if you feel your heart beating funny, right? Or if you go for a regular checkup, your doctor might say your heart's beating irregularly. It has happened to me more than once, where people have no idea that they have atrial fibrillation until I listen, right? So regular checkups, because there are things to be done to prevent stroke if you have atrial fibrillation. Okay, yes ma'am. Polyventricular tachycardia is not a specific stroke risk, but it's a conduction abnormality anyway, so that, yes, should be followed up. But you don't necessarily have to be on blood thinners the same way, right? Good question. Any other questions or thoughts about atrial fibrillation? No? Okay. We're getting to the meat of this, right? If I can make it go forward. So, she even said, remember this for the test, Angie, who dolled up my slides, right? This is the key, right? This is the new acronym for stroke. If you're with somebody, or if it's you, and you have any of these symptoms, you got to notice them right away so that then you can get help right away, okay? So be fast in thinking about stroke is the acronym. B stands for balance. 2 of our ladies told us that they had balance problems because of their stroke, right? If you know that you can always do something that you can't do, your coordination is off, your balance is off, that should be an alert for a possible stroke, okay? So the B stands for balance, okay? And the E stands for eyes or vision lost. Like our gentleman over here, it could be vision in one eye. It could be a warning sign of something where you see a black curtain kind of pulled from the side and then it opens back up. You're nodding. Did you have that? So do not, please do not ignore that symptom, okay? Eyes or vision. So that's the E, right? So B we're going to think of balance, and E we're thinking of eyes. Okay. So F, face drooping. Have you guys heard that one before? What I would say is this. If you're with a loved one or a friend and you know what he or she looks like and that person's face looks different, pay attention to that. Because you might be like, is that drooping? Or is it not drooping? Or I don't really know if it's drooping. You know them. If it looks different, then say, hey, your face looks a little different today, right? It could be that I had a party last night and I'm just still hurting this morning, right? But if not, right, if you're not sure, you could ask the person to smile for you. And when you see a smile, it might be only half the face that smiles, right? Okay, so B is balance, E is, F is face, right? A is arms and legs, okay? So arms and legs, but I guess they couldn't fit an L in there. So weakness, right? We've taught for years it may be just one side. But now we know some people, if their strokes are big, it can affect both sides. So any new weakness of the arm or the leg, okay? So A is arm and leg weakness, but, right. S is speech difficulty, okay? It could mean that somebody can't say the words correctly, that they just sound funny. It could be that somebody can't say the words at all, like they're not coming out. It could be that they're not following directions or acting correctly. So anything that has to do with kind of word processing, right? If somebody is not responding the way that you think, that should trigger you. So the S stands for speech, but it's more than just they can't say the words right. Yes, sir. Oh,